All right, ladies and gents, what's going on? It's the time for the Stump. I'm Ross with 98.1 The Max. And don't forget, next week we're going to have a special guest. We got the Heels coming in. And the week after that, we're going to have the Everdeens. But today, the music in this town is absolutely diverse. And I always say classical music is basically the invention of heavy metal. So I would say that what you do is right there and is about as rock and roll as it gets. And I'm joined by a special guest, Alice Hasen. You're in multiple different projects. I don't know where to start, but I know you just got out of the studio and you have your project, Alice Hasen and the Blaze, and you just got finished recording that along with other projects you're in, and we'll talk about those too. But thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, Ross. I'm really happy to be here. This is a kind of a release of a day for me because, like you said, I've just finished with my album recording for Alice Hasen and the Blaze as of last night at 11:30 p.m.
11:30 p.m.?
Yeah.
What time did you start in the studio?
That day we started at 10, but Mike Wilson and I, he's the recording engineer and co-producer of the album. He and I started last Thursday at 10 a.m. And it was a total of 66 and a half hours in a 7-day period.
See,
and this was at Ardent Studios.
Anybody says being like AC/DC wasn't messing around and says a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll like that. It's a arduous, strong, it's a tough process recording an album. I mean, that's just, we were talking about it earlier, going in there, trying to nail down the best take possible, going in there, maybe not thinking that was the right one, recording it again and again and again.
Yeah, and so this is my first project. Alice Hasen and the Blaze is my solo project.
Okay.
And it's my first one that I've done my own album, and I've definitely done a lot of recording on other folks' records, and some for Blackwater Trio, which is another band I'm in. But this is, anytime you're under the recording microscope, it's like you have to find your best self.
Yes.
And there's, time is money, and I learned that, definitely firsthand this week.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it.
So there's a lot of pressure, but it also, I like it because it brings out the best in me. Mm-hmm. And a little bit of that pressure is something that helps me perform really well, too.
Absolutely, absolutely, because it's unlike a live show where you can kind of flub it or make your way through it or reinvent it as you go. You got an idea and you're trying to nail it. And sometimes the best stuff comes out extemporaneously, just kind of just pops out and that's the take. And you didn't plan it, which is, if that happens, that's always a nice thing.
It is. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. And everybody's ideas in one room is a really magical thing.
Yeah. That's
why I wanted to do this album as a live recording. So we had all of the band members in the same room playing at the same time, as opposed to layering it, first you do guitar and then drums and then bass and, so on and so forth till you get to vocals and solos and stuff.
Yeah.
So that for me was a really enjoyable experience with my band.
I believe it. So who else is in the band with you?
So Carlos Gonzalez plays electric guitar.
Okay.
Vinnie Maynard plays keys, and also Lanny McMillan joined on keys for the recording session as well. Lanny is a jazz master of both piano and the saxophone family.
Okay.
So yeah, you can find him at Owen Brennan's every Sunday. And Vinny is also the son of a friend of mine, Tony Maynard, who's a singer-songwriter in town too.
Okay.
So we've got them on the sort of more soloistic instruments, and then we had Walt Busby also on acoustic guitar for this album on one of the songs. We had Zach Tillotson from Oxford, Mississippi on drums.
Okay.
And he was a wonderful, he's a great friend. I've known him for years, and I wanted him on this album for a long time. So.
And all these guys, it seems to be that all these guys and all these other players are all bouncing around. They all have other projects too. And
Exactly.
are these a lot of these guys primarily just musicians, or they work in the full 9 to 5 and this is what they do on the side?
Well, I need to mention one more person.
Okay.
Andrew Geraci on bass.
Yeah, we don't want to forget anybody.
Andrew, I didn't forget you. So, for example, Andrew works with me at Amro Music. Mm-hmm. So we do all kind of go around. Oh no!
Oh. See, this is how you know it's
Sorry,
live.
It's live.
No, we're
I'm
good.
just gonna leave it there. So we do go around Memphis and sort of circulate. And for me, I know a lot of people through having played with them as a fiddle player. So Andrew, for example, will play in several bands, and I'll sit in with Tony or Bailey Bigger or whoever else will have me. Hint, hint.
There you go.
But then we also have our more primary projects, like
Uh-huh.
mine is the Blaze and Blackwater Trio.
Yeah, because
So-
I saw a video of you playing with Blackwater Trio at Lafayette's. I think that was that St. Patrick's Day, or was that?
It was the day before.
Okay.
Yeah, that whole weekend sort of blends together in my mind.
I believe it. And the thing that stood out to me, and you guys were doing a cover of "Devil Went Down to Georgia," and then they have that moment. It's like, and it sounded something like this, and they bounce over to you, and you jump into "Kashmir" by Led Zeppelin. I'm telling you, that's wild. Just be able to jump out with that. I mean, the amount of songs that you get, the bank of music that you get to play, like pick from, because it's such a unique instrument. That. All right, by the way, it's a fiddle, not a violin, right?
That's a
What's the difference between it?
question I
Because
get
I'm
asked
ignorant to
the
this.
most.
Yeah.
So that is the number one question that people ask me. And I have a joke for them, which I shared once last year on Live at 9, which was, a violin's got 4 strings, a fiddle's got 4 strings.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's...
You got to put a little hot sauce on it.
Exactly. Yeah, once you've sweated a little bit and it's mixed with the varnish and maybe you have a little rosin on there that sticks to the body of the violin, maybe you play a little bit twangy. It's the same piece of wood and string and wire, but 2 different styles of playing kind of, in my mind, it can be both. The same instrument
Gotcha.
can be both.
Gotcha. And you certainly kind of like get as much out of that as humanly possible. Like I said, because I've watched you jam with just like Tony Maynard.
Yeah.
And I believe because this Saturday, I believe it's this Friday, you're playing at
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow you're playing at High Tone with Alice Hasen and the Blaze. But I believe is Tony Maynard opening up.
He's going to finish out the night. We're going to have Delta Joe Sanders start the night around, doors open at 7, music starts at 8 at the High Tone. And then I'm going to go on with Alice Hasen and the Blaze, some of us fresh from the studio, and then Tony Maynard and the Big Ol' Band's going to finish up.
Is it ever weird when you're like introducing your band or saying your band, you have to say your name?
Yeah, I don't like it. I definitely, when I was naming the band, I thought, how can I make the name Hasen sound cool? Because one time my own mother told me that Hasen is not a cool name.
Your mom said that?
Yep.
Isn't
She said, my friend Walt Busby in the trio, she said, Busby is a cool last name. Hasen is not. I was like, okay, wow, that's from my own mom.
Well,
but
I gotta say, it was funny because when I started working here, Danny asked me, she's like, so what are you gonna go by on air? And I go, Ross Turner. She goes, I guess it's not a thing till it's a thing. And I was like, okay.
Ooh, yeah.
But I got a feeling that you're gonna make the Hazen name proud, and it's gonna be cool because I mean you're absolutely ripping. I mean I'm kind of fanboying out because it's so. I mean, I guess maybe because we're not exposed to it, just the instrument enough these days to like have a real true appreciation for it, and just to know how diverse the sound is and how many places you could plug and play it.
I love that about the violin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in addition to trying to make my name Hasen sound cool, I also am trying to make the violin cool. I love when little kids who are learning violin come up to me and say that, it made them really excited, or now they want to learn an instrument or something like that. Not only little kids, but adults too. And the thing about the violin, like you mentioned, is that it can be incorporated into so many different types of music.
Yeah.
Jazz, funk, rock and roll, even hip hop. There are 2 songs with, there are 2 people more on my album I need to mention because there are 2 hip hop songs.
Okay.
So Rufus Smith and Angela Blair provided lyrics for rap and rapping and then backup vocals So there's even some hip hop on the album.
That's
too.
slick. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it can be, the violin can really fit in a lot of different ways. Folk, of course, all of the fiddle genres, Western, swing, bluegrass, that's, a given. But all these other genres too.
Yeah, well, you mentioned like people trying to like pick up the violin. I tried to play it once at like this pawn shop. They had one, and I was just like, oh, let me see, maybe I'll just pick it up. And it's like ping pong. There's a lot of finesse with it. Like you can't just fucking, pardon my French. You can't just slam the ball, across. You kind of gotta like give it some, give it that touch. That little zing. So what would you tell somebody who's trying to learn or maybe even thinking about it, no matter what age they are?
I would say get yourself a quality violin. Try to, without proselytizing my place that I work, come by Amro or a store of your choice, but Amro's got great fiddles too. Get yourself a quality instrument that's going to do well for you. Stay in tune, not have any parts that are the wrong size or anything like that. And then also get yourself a teacher and give it 2 months and see how you like it. And, really stick to it for 2 months, and then you'll know if it's something that you want to pursue, because the learning curve for a violin definitely is a little bit harder than a flute or a piano or a guitar. Any instrument without fixed pitch, without a key that you can press down or a fret that you can find, is going to be a little bit harder. And then, of course, the bow just makes just a bit more complicated with getting a right tone. But it's doable at any age, and I've taught people of all ages.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and people can get really good if they just continue with it and are consistent in their practicing.
So, like was the theory like 10,000 hours of practice matches any just God-given talent? Like, which school do you think you just subscribe to? Practice or just? I guess it's got to be practice.
Practice. My college maestro, Mr. Shimada, Tokiyuki Shimada, he always said, 15 minutes of Stravinsky a day is better than 4 hours the night before.
Okay. Well, you study, anybody who studies anything for, to be an expert in any field, you just have to do something for an hour every day for 7 years. I think that's like an old Confucius thing, or like an old school of thought, but just picking it up every day and playing with it. That's why I try to tell anybody who's trying to learn up a guitar, just have it in your hands. Because if you have it in your hands, if you're binge watching Netflix, like every once in a while, you'll start involuntarily playing the soundtrack to the scene. Like you just kind of start messing around, even if it's just primitive, you're just playing a note. You're playing that note that you feels like to the whatever you're watching. So it's like a nice little exercise.
I'm actually trying to learn guitar.
Okay.
And I'm not very good yet, but some of the songs we recorded this week, I wrote on guitar, and I love it as a songwriting instrument. I don't think I'm ever gonna put myself out there as a guitarist, the way I do with the violin. But it is very, there's something about it that I love, the way that it resonates right up next to you. And from somebody who doesn't play a really chordal instrument, you can play chords on the violin, but, not often.
Yeah.
It's nice to have something to workshop ideas, and some of the times I don't even know what I'm playing, but I like the sound. And then I can bring it to a real guitar player. Yeah. And they can tell me, oh yeah, that's what this chord is, and they can actually play it with me. You
mentioned your college maestro. Where'd you study? Where'd you go?
I went to Yale from 2008 to 2012.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
For music?
I was just in the undergrad program, so there is a school of music there that's amazing. But what I did was major in French and music, and I played in the Yale Symphony Orchestra, and I kind of got a taste of some contemporary music with some composers just in the college as well, some student composers, and yeah, I did a little bit of everything.
I'm about to say, you pack a lot of culture into your body, French, violin, all that. Yeah, that's impressive. And so when are you originally from Memphis?
So there's another kind of different cultural bit too. I grew up in Vermont in the Northeast, and I grew up near Burlington, the city of Burlington, and there is a lot of folk music influence up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful state.
It's
a really beautiful state. I used to go up there for the summers, and we used to go to a lake house with that was like a friend of a friend's. They let us go up there for like a week.
Oh.
Gorgeous.
I actually book a tour up there every year with Blackwater Trio.
Okay.
And we do an annual summer tour, and I get to see my family, and we get to play, and it's the best time to be in Vermont.
During the summer?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It gets cold up there. A lot of snow up there during the winter.
I love to ski, so I love to go up in the winter too. But for everybody else, the best time is the summer. And it's just, you go up there and it's not hot or anything.
Well, if you're going on the lake, you get dive bombed by bats like crazy, so be careful out there.
This sounds like a story.
Well, it's or a canoe, and you just sit out there, but like when you're paddling and like when the oar comes up and it trickles down, I guess it's like an insect for them, so it kind of ripples on the water, and they start dive bombing your oars.
Sounds like you had just a summer up in nowhere, like up in the Northeast Kingdom.
It was definitely not like next to the city. We used to go, and then we used to go skiing. There's a place called Smuggler's Notch.
Been there, yeah.
You've been there, and that was
great.
and that was a really cool spot, and we had a lot of fun there. But we didn't go there in the summer. We went there during the winter, and that was. But I was like 7 at the time.
So you don't remember being cold?
I don't. No, I don't remember being freezing. I just remember being like the kid in Christmas Story. You barely like I was like
Michelin Man.
I was Michelin Man with skis before I thought like snowboarding was cool. So I was just like, I'll just ski. Not knocking skiing because I think you have more control. But yeah, my parents were like, all right, you're gonna ski. And I was like, all right, cool. And we just had it. We made the best of it.
That's sweet. Yeah, I'm a skier myself. I think my parents put me on skis about the same time as they gave me my first violin lessons.
All right, on.
So yeah, they made sure that I did all the things early on enough that I would love them.
Yes, well, you're a sponge at that age, so you just kind of soak everything up.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, all right. So you got your violin in your hand, and so I imagine we're gonna hear a taste of something off your new album.
We can do that. I also have a fiddle tune that I just pull out and play.
Okay. You do that.
The album is really about me interacting with my band.
Yeah.
So I figured that I would do just a fiddle tune that could kind of stand alone for
Awesome.
you.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that. All right.
All right. This tune is called Spider Jig, and I wrote this maybe starting about a year ago is when I started putting it together, and over time it's become more and more ornate and fiddle-tastic. So let me make sure I'm in tune. All right, here's Spider Jig.
Amazing.
Thank you.
That is, see, you don't think that's rock and roll. I don't know what you think rock and roll is.
That's like the fiddle version of rock and roll there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Awesome.
no, that's incredible. I love how when you tune it, you actually hear the violin buckle a little bit. Like it really is just like this piece of this piece of wood made up by little pieces. Like you could hear it kind of just like growing, like a house settling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. This particular violin is 90 years old.
90 years old?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to ask how much it is. I'm not even gonna do that, but I know what a Gibson, like a 90-year-old Gibson. I don't even think that exists.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The wood has to be aged for a really long time before you even make a violin. And it's under a lot of pressure, too, with the strings, sitting on top of the wood with really just one little piece of wood as a sound post holding them, kind of keeping the pressure from caving the violin in. So, yeah, I love this violin. I had to tune it because it's been spoiled for 7 days just being in the same place.
Yeah.
And today is a really hot day, so I, put it in my backseat of my car, and then the A string was all
it gets
wacky.
a little, it gets a little janky on you.
Yeah, but I do love, there's just so many resonances that can come out of, just a couple pieces of wood. And if you take care of an instrument, it can last 100 years or more.
Yeah. So. Well, and like, do you ever like pick up another one and it's like it feels completely different? You gotta like revamp how you play it and approach it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Each violin, unlike maybe a Yamaha trumpet and line of the Yamaha Zeno or something, and all of them are very, very close to each other, similar but different, but really, really close. Each violin that's made, because it's made of something that's organic, and each trio is different and everything like that, they're gonna have their own unique voice and way that they speak to you. So.
What kind of wood's it made of?
The top part is spruce, and the sides and back are maple. And you can't really see very easily, but there's a flame to the maple that's really beautiful when you look at it in the light. So.
It is gorgeous. It is a gorgeous instrument.
I call it my baby.
Yeah.
And I have another baby. It's a purple violin. Maybe you've seen it. I'm not sure, but I think
did you play that?
with it.
Did you play that with Blackwater Trio?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's when I saw it. Are these electric? You have is the purple one you plug in, or is it just mic'd up through a stand in front of you?
It's electric, so you plug it in. It works really well with pedals and with being amplified. It cuts down a lot when you don't have the hollow body of an acoustic to feed back, so you can, play with the sound a little bit more on the electric.
Yeah.
So.
I was actually looking that up. I think there's like a stoner metal band called like Windhand, and there's a girl who plays violin in it, and she was using a wah-wah pedal. As she was playing, I was like, man, I didn't even know you could do that. That's wild. It just gives it this kind of sound, and you really just shred like anybody else shredding on the guitar. It's just. I guess this predates. Does this predate guitar?
Violin, well, you had the lute, going back pretty long ways, but the viola da gamba was pretty much the first stringed instrument, and it was more like a cello. And some people still play the gamba today, but it's not quite a cello, but that was like their predecessor, I believe, if all of my music history is coming back to me properly.
The cello?
The gamba was the beginning, and then all of the rest of the instruments kind of came from that.
Gotcha.
From the string family.
So it's really cool. So you tour during the summer with Blackwater Trio, and I always like to ask, what's the one place that you went that, I don't know, you got such a response that it almost became home when you were there? Sans Vermont.
Oh my gosh. Baltimore has actually become kind of a home for us on our tour in the summertime.
Baltimore?
Yeah, there's a pizzeria there called Zella's, and we have some friends there. It's Sowebo, Southwest Baltimore. So there's a music series there, and they put you up, and they make sure that you have all of your needs taken care of, and if you like dogs, there's a dog nearby all the time. So they have sort of become one of our go-to stops on our tour for sure.
Baltimore, I would not I'm glad you said it, because that's like something that I forgot Orioles were even a team.
Oh yeah.
For a minute. So I was like, oh yeah, Baltimore Orioles, yeah.
My dad took us to. I remember going to an Orioles game when I was really young. Yeah. It's beautiful. Is it Camden?
And it Camden. Well, I don't.
Yeah.
There's like a Camden. There's like a Paris, Texas. You know. So I know there's a Camden, New Jersey.
I'm pretty sure Camden Yard is where the Orioles play.
Oh, Camden Yard. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty beautiful. So yeah, Baltimore is a cool city. That area, Southwest Baltimore, is, you know, they're trying to kind of revitalize it a lot, and it's going along really well. We also enjoy going and making little culinary stops on our tour.
Oh, yeah?
And there's Light Street in Baltimore is one of my favorite places to have lunch.
That's like what kind of food?
There was a Turkish place it was Lebanese. We stopped at a Lebanese restaurant last time we were there.
Nice.
And then we went up to Federal Hill at the top of the harbor. You can see everything. We took some pictures as a storm was rolling in, and then we got caught in the rain.
Yeah.
So just kind of fond memories of Baltimore.
That's slick. That's refreshing. I like hearing that, because that's like everybody always usually picks like New York, Chicago. I've heard Cincinnati once. You know, Cincinnati was one hell of a city. But, you know, Baltimore, that's pretty cool. Not just The Wire. Not just The Wire. Wire kind of gave it a bad rap.
Yeah, not just Hairspray.
Is that the play Hairspray?
Yeah.
Is that where it's based in Baltimore?
Place in Baltimore.
Okay. Yeah, I'm learning a whole bunch today. That's pretty cool. So I get back to so you're playing tomorrow at the High Tone, Tony Maynard, but you're going to be playing with your solo project, Alice Hasen and the Blaze. New album. Do we know when that album's going to be coming out?
Indeed. It's going to be on September 7th.
Okay.
And I chose this because, just make note of this, Brandon, it's my boyfriend's parents' anniversary the day before, so I didn't schedule it then.
Nice, nice, nice.
Because I figured that they might like to come because they're really, really supportive of me. In addition to my own parents being really supportive. So I wanted to, make it a date that everybody could make. So September 7th at B-Side, Memphis.
B-Side, that's the new place in Minglewood Hall.
Yeah.
The new venue. It's got a bar. It's a really cool stage. I'm a fan. I've seen a couple people there, and I always had a good time. Sounds great in that room.
I like that room. It's comfortable for everybody who's listening to you. There's enough space for, you know, a small group of people feels intimate, but a large group can be accommodated too. I like that. So, and the stage is a really nice, like, wide, spacious stage too.
Awesome. And that's the big date. From what I understand, people could see you at South Main Sounds. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, South Main Sounds is down on 550 South Main. I actually just played one, so I'll probably wait a little. Yeah.
Okay.
But Mark Parcell is the promoter and presenter for that, and he has so many great songwriters come play, and it's all original music. So I just played that about 2 Fridays ago with a friend of mine from Houston, and then 2 local musicians here. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And I think you said it. You recorded this one at Ardent, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, Studio C.
Studio C, is that the ZZ Top studio in the back?
It is.
Yeah. We recorded our first album there as well.
Oh, nice.
And it was really cool when you go into the like the I guess the vocal booths, where they have almost like the old
cup holder, but they're actually
cigarettes.
ashtrays.
Yeah, I think there were still ashtrays when we were there.
Yeah.
And like it looks just like you're riding an airplane back in the 70s. They kind of folds up and like just had that old feel to it. You're like, I'm kind of like in a room full of history right now.
You do feel that. I went to go put my cup of whatever I was drinking there, non-alcoholic beverage, and I was like, oh wait, this is the ashtray. But yeah, that room, all of the rooms at Ardent sound nice. Studio A and Studio C. Studio B is more of like a vocal studio.
Okay.
But I chose that studio because I've done a lot of work there, and I really love how my violin sounds there. So that's why I chose that particular studio.
I'm about to say, and you've played around enough to know which room works for you.
Yeah, I've definitely recorded most in Studio C.
Okay.
And since we were doing it live, they have the capability of putting certain folks' amps in sound isolation booths, like the vocal booth.
Yeah.
That's where I was most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty slick.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming in today and talking about your music and where you're going to be. If anything else that you think I haven't said, mentioned that you're going to be playing with, or any musicians that we think that people should be looking out for in the future,
well, I'll just let you guys know that if you're down in the Clarksdale, Mississippi Delta area, the Blaze is going to be playing Juke Joint Festival.
Nice.
On April 13th, Saturday, April 13th in Clarksdale, Mississippi. There are so many musicians that I want to shout out, especially the ones that played on my album. One of my favorite moments on the record you're all gonna hear on September 7th is Rufus's rapping on 2 of the songs.
Yeah.
And I do want to shout him out in particular, and Angela Blair on the vocals. But yeah, Rufus the rapper, Gospel of Rufus, Rufus Smith, those are all kind of his tags.
Awesome.
And his work is really clever and smooth and just heartfelt. So I really want to give him a shout out in particular, but there's so many people who did such a great job. And also Mike Wilson, the engineer and co-producer too.
Thanks, Mike Wilson.
Yeah.
And Rufus and Angela and everybody else involved. But thank you so much, Alice, for coming in here and sharing your music and sharing your story and sharing just everything in general. I think we just talked about a lot. But Alice Hasen and The Blaze tomorrow at the High Tone, Tony Maynard opening up and playing with you guys. And I imagine there might be some crossover or not.
I play with Tony too, so yeah, you'll get a double helping of me. And of course, Delta Joe Sanders is going to kick it off, and he actually has a shout out in one of Tony's songs.
Okay.
Tony references Delta Joe Sanders in one of his lyrics.
Can they hear that one? Is that recorded or anything like that?
I believe that one's going to be on Tony's upcoming album.
Awesome. We're going to have to get Tony in here because I was listening to some of his stuff, and it is awesome, jam-tastic music.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's so many talented people in here. You, of course, being one of them. So thank you so much for coming in here.
Thank you, Ross. I'm sorry I spilled coffee
No,
on the
it's
table.
absolutely. That's how you know it's live.
It's authentic.
You notice how it didn't just all of a sudden clean up in the middle of a frame. So,
yeah.
But this is the Stump. Next week we got the duo, the greatest rock, folk, pop. I don't even know what to call them half the time. They're just a bunch of crazy lunatics, and they're a great time. Heels will be in next week, and we got the Everdeens coming in after that. This is the Stump. I'm Ross, 98.1 The Max, and thanks for joining us.
All right.